If you look overall at the SONA debate and SONA itself, and then President Jacob Zuma's reply, is it a litmus test of where government is presently and where it's likely to go for the rest of the year?
Well, I think it indicates a shift in terms of how government sees its responsibility now, that it recognizes the scale of the financial crisis facing South Africa, that fiscal cliff is nearing, that we need to take steps to avoid the downgrade, but that we must also be careful not to focus solely on avoiding the downgrade, because then we will end up with a stagnant economy in which unemployment will only increase. So it's a delicate balancing act. It's a recognition of the problem, and we would hope that the budget next week gives us a clear path and direction of how we're going to move forward, how we're going to create jobs, how we're going to avoid that economic or that investment downgrade and stabilize the economy for future growth.
So in a way, President Zuma's address is a prelude to where we're really going to need to zoom in on the meat and bones of things, and that's the budget speech.
Well, it's the budget speech, and then obviously the individual budget votes from each of the government departments thereafter. I mean, it was interesting, for example, on the energy issue. In SONA, President Zuma spoke about nuclear. Yesterday, in his response to the debate, made no mention of nuclear and focused on renewables.
Yeah.
So it's those sorts of mixed messaging that's come out. Mixed messaging that's come out of the out from the president. So we're going to see clarity from that from Minister Gordhan next week, and then following on from that in the individual budget votes, and to see exactly what allocations government departments have been given by Treasury, whether nuclear procurement is on the cards in the short term. And if it's not, how we're going to deal with the energy needs of the country in the short term.
To sort of piggyback on your mention of energy, Tina Joemat-Pettersson, the Minister of Energy, went on what I would call a bit of a tirade in her discussion. She spoke about nuclear. She made the argument that because of water issues around having clear water rather than salty water, that nuclear power plants need to keep trying to generate energy, and we need to push that agenda. And then went on this kind of mission around the Economic Freedom Fighters leader, Julius Malema. From the outside, as a kind of layperson or a citizen, I imagine it looks like kind of winning political favors, or sort of, putting your hat in the ring with the right people who are in power. Is that a normal part of the SONA debate?
Well, it is. Although her use of analogies and metaphors was rather bemusing.
Yeah.
It was an attempt, I think, to belittle Julius Malema. It was an attempt to stand up for the president, given the attacks that he had faced from Malema in his response to the debate. But it's part of the politicking of Parliament, and the fact that it left many people confused, I think, didn't help her cause.
No, completely baffled by her use of cows and flames and children and childbearing. Yeah. It was a bit of a muddle.
Indeed.
So we need to look forward to the budget speech. We need to look forward to the votes around the different ministries and their budgets. Are you particularly interested in Treasury in light of what happened at the end of last year?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we must go back, and as the president himself referred in his reply yesterday, the issue of the National Development Plan was an issue that he raised and stressed a number of times yesterday. He only mentioned it twice in his SONA address last week. He mentioned it much more often yesterday. He made reference to the fact that the medium-term budget policy statement from October last year reflects government's commitments and priorities in the National Development Plan. So we need to look at how this budget next week develops on the medium-term statement that was issued by Minister Nene last year, how it builds on that, and what consistency there is in terms of moving forward in South Africa, because that's laid the platform. We want to move forward, ignoring the aberration that we had in December.